This week, we don't know what's more terrifying: extreme weather being experienced around the globe, or Kevin McCarthy's dysfunctional leadership of the House of Representatives. Welcome to MOMocrats MOMochat, part of the Demcast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz with Karoli and Aliza Worthington, both from crooksandliars.com. And I was telling Karoli earlier this week that, I am just depressed. Like I follow the news, and even the good stuff isn't making me happy because the bad stuff is just so existentially terrifying.
You're talking about the weather and the climate and the
floods in Vermont, 90 plus degree ocean in Florida.
97 degrees. That's crazy.
Oh my God.
Wow. Yeah. I hadn't seen that. I hadn't seen that the ocean is 97 degrees. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh. What's typical for this time of year for the ocean?
Well, maybe the 80s, but not 97 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just crazy hot. And the thing is,
that's not even refreshing. That's like body temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to what Donna was saying about it being depressing, it's not just depressing, it's overwhelming. This has always been the problem I've had with climate change, is the way it's presented to us is that it is overwhelming. Like what little things can you possibly do to change the fact that there's 97 degree water in Florida? I don't know the answer to that.
Political will.
Yeah, there's that too.
About it. That's
I take issue with that. There is some political will. There's certainly political will, for example, on the part of Joe Biden.
Yes.
Right? To do something about it.
Yes.
There's no political will
quite a few Democrats
on the Republican side to do anything. And we're stuck with the stupid House of Representatives for at least until 2024, when some of the states that were fucked up like New York have to redistrict and actually give seats back to the Democrats.
Yeah, like they should have had.
Right, they shouldn't have had them in the first
maps that are being redone.
Yeah.
Because of court cases that finally made it to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
It is overwhelming because you feel like you bought your Prius, we
walk, we ride our bikes, we try not to drive, we do all the things, and
we recycle, we're trying and
doing all the little things that we as individuals can do, but without a massive global cooperation led by the countries that are the largest creators of carbon in the environment, meaning the United States and China, there's just so much.
Well, and it seems doubly overwhelming because the tangible, when we saw during COVID complete and total shutdown of any life outside our homes, we saw amazing differences in the skies and the atmosphere and the air, and it was so tangible and so visible. And to us, to me anyway, that's just it's both encouraging and depressing, because on the one hand it's encouraging because you say, oh my goodness, just a few months of this and look at the difference we can make. And then on the other hand, it's but a few months of what? A few months of everybody in the entire world not going anywhere. Right. How are we going to make that happen?
The
and then if you try to do anything in between, you know, like trying to accomplish anything in between seems absolutely impossible to regulate, because it seems like it's either one extreme or the other. And getting anything short of a global pandemic and a government mandated shutdown seems like not enough people will agree to do what's necessary to actually make a difference in the environment.
And you'll never have another government shutdown after a global pandemic again.
No, not after, you know, unless there's, you know, another thing for which we can't develop a vaccine quickly enough. But, you know, but
I don't think they'll ever do it again, because, or at least Republicans won't, because they're too conspiracy minded now. There can't actually be a pandemic. It has to be some other thing.
All right, well, maybe the next bug will be deadly enough that, you know, fine, they'll all just die the minute they walk outside, and then we don't have to worry about them anymore. You know,
maybe I don't know. Maybe it needs to be Republican specific.
Yes, that's, you know,
I don't think that's going to happen. I think.
Sorry.
I look at.
Is that wrong?
You know, the pandemics, the rise of these viruses, you know, things that will get us sick. This is related to climate change too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know,
I
am convinced that I am not going to live as long as my parents did. That my generation is going to be the first one to have a shorter lifespan than previous ones.
That's the prediction.
And that is probably better for the world, you know, that there are fewer humans. But it's a terrible, pessimistic way to think.
It's sad.
To worry about the next generations coming up. And, you know, but, you know, I don't see, I just, you know, there's too many people who are not willing.
I was going to say, it's not that there's too many people. It's there's too many politicians who won't get off their ass and admit what's going on and do something about it.
Right.
I mean, the part that's infuriating to me is listening to, you know, the Tucker Carlsons and you know, people like that mock climate change when it's right there in front of them. Like when they walk outside and it's 119 degrees outside and they're going, oh, ha, 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 climate change.
It's summer. Of course it's hot.
I mean, you know,
no,
never mind.
And they mock the kids who are worried about it, because they're the ones that are going to have to
are going to be living with it. Yeah, exactly. And with the havoc that it wreaks. So I don't know. I mean, we're trying to do everything we can over here to, you know, in our own little way to do something good, but you know, who knows?
And it's not just the politicians, it's the corporations that own everything.
Well, that's the thing, you know, like a lot of the politicians are in the pockets, you know, the corporations are in the politicians' pockets.
Right.
It's capitalism run amok.
Yeah.
Which is the other thing, you know, as I am looking at, you know, the actors on strike with WGA.
Yep.
And the reasons for this strike. And it's really kind of emblematic of the entire labor situation in the US. This is not just writers and actors, people in Hollywood, you know. And this is why you've got the other unions. In Los Angeles today, you've got the teachers union, nurses union, SEIU, you know, plus the trade unions in Hollywood, all on the picket line with actors in solidarity, because they recognize that the problems that the Hollywood guilds are fighting are part of the same problems that they are fighting all across the economy.
Oh, if you don't think AI is a problem in education, you're not paying attention.
Not just AI.
No, I understand that. I know, but capital. I mean, of course, capitalism too, and being in the pocket of the politicians too, is a problem in education. But you know, but the specifics as well of what the actors and the writers are combating. You know, if you want to get granular about it, you know, even those issues are something that teachers and other industries are going to have to deal with.
Yeah.
You know, being replaced by machines.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about the AI issue with regard to the walkout yesterday by the Actors Guild, and that was SAG-AFTRA, right?
Yes.
And because one of the things that the studios want to do is take one image of a person, pay them once for it, and then use it in perpetuity forever and ever.
Yeah, hello, Black Mirror.
Yeah. So you could take, for example, you could pay extras to do one scene, and then they're done, and those images of them could be used over and over again in different scenes. And that is crazy. I mean, it's just...
And from the writer's point of view, the way you train AI is by feeding it with material that's already out there. Mm-hmm. So the scripts that these writers have already written, their words, their sayings are already in ChatGPT or whatever platform they want to use in AI, and it will get spit out.
Right.
And so they're not going to get compensated. So never mind the whole corporate issue where you've got these companies who only care about their stock price. And so they squeeze the profits off the backs of the people who work for them. Mm-hmm. You know, just, you know, I was looking at somebody from Deadline Hollywood who was on one of the shows today. And he said, yeah, all of these companies have been profitable, but they have not been profitable enough for the stockholders. And so, and it reminds me of when I was a member of WGA and we struck in '87. Mm-hmm. Because I was working at NBC as a production assistant at the time. I had the feed, and I'm watching the NBC corporate announcement to their stockholders, and they're boasting about all their profits and, you know, what a great investment they are. And then out of the other side of their mouth, we can't afford to pay the writers.
Right. Because they're paying their shareholders.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's the problem. It's like, well, you know, if you can't pay the writers, you know, and then you're paying the shareholders, then something's got to give. And that's why there's a strike. And that's what's happening here. And not just on the money side, but also on the employment side. I mean, the whole idea of AI buying somebody's image once and using it forever and ever, amen, is just not right.
Well, I saw a tweet from someone who worked on a science fiction streaming series. Well, I don't remember which one. And she said that on the last season of the series, everybody in the cast had to submit to being scanned. And they never told them why.
Oh my goodness.
So they had the body motion scan, and, you know, they didn't consent to anything. They thought it was part of, you know, the show's technical needs.
What? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's not outlawed by the contract they were under, and it wasn't because it wasn't anticipated yet. They could do it.
That's crazy.
But but they didn't agree to have that image be used in perpetuity or anything.
No.
Right?
But, you know, they don't know how those images are being used because they weren't used in the show.
So they might find out in a few years that it's being used in some movie.
Absolutely.
And the other side of this is that we're going to get fed a lot more reality shows and shit that, you know, which, by the way, are also scripted, but apparently the people that script those things don't have to, you know, pay union dues. I don't know, but
that's because it takes like 20 minutes to write one of those scripts.
Yeah, right.
They're so crappy.
There is some craft to that too.
Nah, okay.
There is, not in terms of creating drama and suspense and all the things. There is,
but it's so formulaic. It's so formulaic. Like to me,
I know. I hate reality shows too, but
Yeah.
I mean, even like House Hunters, right, on HGTV
Especially
is
House
scripted.
Hunters,
It's
all of
totally
that
scripted.
stuff. Yeah.
I only
So,
watch cooking and travel shows.
oh well, Nanner Nanner, those are certainly not scripted. Oh shoot.
But one of the ways that the striking actors and writers are suggesting that we show our solidarity would be to end our subscriptions to some of the streamers. And I'm not ready to give up all my streamers.
Yeah,
But
me either.
I think I can do that with Netflix. I just have to run that by the rest of my family members that are still logging in on my account.
Well,
they won't be able to
I
do
was
that much
thinking about
longer.
that too. Like what else besides Netflix? I mean, there's Netflix, and yeah, all my kids use it, but on the other hand, they can, if they want it, they can pay for it themselves,
Yeah.
Um,
Ironically, my daughter is supposed to start a new show, a Netflix reality show on Monday.
oh,
And that's not happening because
so
of this
is she on the
strike.
picket lines? Is
She hasn't been on the picket line yet, but she supports them.
yeah.
She's an IATSE member. They settled. They made their own deal about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it's going to be
So
a long...
who are the worst offenders? If we were going to pick 3 to cancel, who would we cancel? I'm sorry?
Disney,
Netflix, HBO.
I mean, any one of them. And then when they say, "Why are you canceling?" you say, "Pay your people.
Writers.
Pay your writers. Pay your actors."
What about
the negotiating table and negotiate in good faith?
Right. What about Prime?
The AI ideas on the side. Don't do that thing.
It's all of them. AMTP is all of them.
Yeah. So, well, I have to admit, it would be hard for me to cancel all of them.
It would be hard for me to cancel
it right now because.
But if everybody canceled 2 of them.
Yeah.
Well, I could do it now because we're actually like playing Zelda more than we're watching TV. So.
And I could do it too.
But the thing is that, when you hear that the executives of these companies are planning to, planning to just drag it out until the writers just lose their homes and become homeless and can't handle it anymore. It's enough to it makes me angry enough that I can say, you know what? I have DVDs. I have a ton of movies I could watch that I have lots of things on series. I still have my VCR. I have lots of things I could entertain myself with. Yeah. I definitely have months and months and months.
Books.
I could watch. I have books. I have libraries from which I could borrow.
Yeah.
There are ways in which we could, entertain ourselves without being dependent upon these things.
Exactly.
And that just made me so, the contempt with which these people with hundreds of millions of dollars a year, like I can't even fathom making $1 million a year. I can't fathom what my life would be like if I had $1 million every single year, but these people get millions of dollars in bonuses. Yeah. And they have such contempt for the people that create the product that give them this wealth. They have such contempt for them that they're like, how dare they demand respect for their work and respect for their working conditions and pay that's commensurate with their talent, to the degree that we're happy to just drag this out until they're homeless while we sit at, by our pools And, it was so infuriating that it made me really think, yeah, you know what? As, a writer who does not make much money at all, not of TV or entertainment, forms, but, I'm willing to cancel these things, save myself a little money, and be like, up yours, Bob Iger and whoever else.
Oh, the Deadline Hollywood article that you're talking about, where everybody was anonymous, apparently that really backfired on them. Because
did they think it was going to help them?
I think they thought that they were going to scare the actors into not striking.
Okay, so what Deadline Hollywood article was this? I missed it, so help me out here.
This was an article where
I'll send it to you.
Unnamed executives were quoted as saying that bankrupting the writers and making them lose their homes was a necessary evil because they wanted to break the guild. That's the term they used. They wanted to break.
Yep.
Wow. Well, that makes me determined now to make sure that the writers are supported. Where do we give in the GoFundMe to make sure they don't lose their homes?
There are links. There are places where they have been distributing money for food and stuff like that to striking writers who have not been able to afford that. I will find those links. I will put them up on the Facebook page.
Yeah,
so,
definitely. Because that is just not right. It was probably Bob Iger too that was the quote.
Probably.
On the other hand, I enjoyed everything Bob Iger said about Ron DeSantis.
I know, right?
There's some nuance. These people are complicated.
Yeah, well, fuck the bankrupt them and, in order to break their union stuff. That's just bullshit.
I will tell you that the entire history of Hollywood has been punctuated by these labor disputes, because from the time the studios were funded, they earned their profits at the expense of the people who worked to create the product.
Right.
And, Hollywood's got a very bloody history. And the system that we enjoyed by the time I was coming up, where people got residuals, all of that was the result of many, many stoppages over the years, some of which were violent.
Right.
There were riots in front of Warner Brothers Studios, and you had, the LAPD like kicking the shit out of protesters. It was a very
they carried that tradition on to this day.
It's very, but they keep talking about the last time WGA and SAG went out together, and that was when Reagan headed SAG. And that was the strike that got us those residuals.
Right. Mr. Union Buster himself.
I finally found it, by the way.
And got the people something really good. And I think that's why everybody was so excited about Fran Drescher's speech yesterday.
Yeah, she was great.
She was. Good for her.
Yeah.
Again, she might be an anti-vaxxer, but...
oh, I didn't know that.
I know, right?
I got all day without knowing that.
It's so complicated. Nobody is going to be 100% what you want. And that goes from Fran Drescher to Joe Biden,
Yeah, well, that's true.
What you have to hope is that they're the person you need in the moment for what you need them from.
Yeah.
For,
right.
Yep.
I hear you. So it sounds like this is going to be a long, brutal strike, is what it sounds like.
Yes and no. I have never seen the strike last very long once the actors get involved.
Yeah, that's true. Those tend to
What
be
they
shorter.
usually do is the writer's contract ends first, then comes the DGA, and they make a deal with the DGA. You know, the DGA, I don't know if they can actually read a contract and understand it because they always make a deal. And that's not fair because the directors are very smart people. I've known a lot of good directors, but you know, I just wonder why they always seem to say, "Oh, that's great." They sign, you know. And then the actors. And usually the actors, they will offer the actors something that the writers wanted, but they won't give the writers. And the actors settle. And then they circle back to the writers. But actors' strikes don't last very long. The last time there was an actors' strike that lasted, it was maybe 4 weeks.
Well, so the writers have been going on since May, right? Aren't we?
Well, will they give the writers what they're asking for, though? Well, and will they give the actors what they're asking for?
Right now, they're not giving anybody anything.
Anything, right?
Walk away from the negotiations. They didn't even try to negotiate with the writers.
Right. They basically said it's my way or the highway and walked away instead of sitting down and negotiating in good faith. And until they come to the table and negotiate in good faith, then we don't know what I mean, they're not going to get everything. Writers aren't going to get everything, and neither are actors.
Everything.
But the whole point is to negotiate something. You don't just walk away, and that's what they did.
Yeah, that's what they did. And they're trying to break the unions.
Yeah.
You know, apparently, you know, a few years back, I didn't expect that we would be talking about Hollywood politics this whole thing. But a couple of years back, the WGA successfully broke the studio agency packaging situation, where financially you could have an agency be the one in charge and put everything together.
Oh, okay.
And so apparently that scared the studios.
Okay.
I don't understand that sentence.
I don't totally understand it either.
But maybe somebody out there will, and they'll explain it. No, I mean, I think
about when that happened.
Okay. That there was more power.
Yeah.
Accorded to the
agencies were all, you know, Ari Emanuel, you know, was all powerful.
What kind of agency? I'm sorry, like the talent agencies?
Talent agencies, yeah.
Oh, okay.
They were in charge of everything.
Right.
You know, they would get the writer, the actor, the director. They would package the whole thing, and they had the power. And, you know.
So it sounds like studios want some of that back.
The studios want that. But I mean, it's very, very complicated. Streaming made everything more complicated.
Streaming, and they didn't settle streaming when they should have, which was in the last strike. They basically did not do an adequate job of doing that. And of course, now streaming is, you know, big business.
Yeah.
So,
and then on top of that, during the pandemic, when everybody started streaming, and Netflix profits went sky high, you had the rest of the studios, anybody that wasn't doing streaming, was putting their assets into streaming. So now you had, you know, Paramount Plus, and, you know, every studio has a streaming service, and there's too many streamers.
Well, it's not, and it's not just the studios, right? It's the networks. So you have NBC has their own streaming service, the Peacock. Right. ABC is, I think I don't know. I think they're with Hulu or somebody. Well, no, they have their own too, I think. But ABC
Disney Plus is all, I mean, ABC is Disney, ESPN.
Right. That's what,
They're like all over the place.
Yeah. And so, and then you have like bundlers like YouTube who are bundling up all these streaming things into YouTube TV and charging one monthly fee for that.
Well, also live TV. That's where we're getting our live TV.
Yeah, that's where we're getting ours too. And by the way, it's awesome. I'm just saying. So anyway, I mean, there's all these things that aren't, and they're profit centers for the networks, but they're not, the people aren't making the money that, you know.
Well, it's not just that, you know, again, I go back to when I was working in the business, and you had the network system, you know, they would have a season order of, say, 22, 23, 24 episodes.
Right.
And so you would have a room of writers, and
Right.
you'd have like 10 writers on staff.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a means of, and they were also required to purchase a certain number of scripts from freelancers. So which is how I sold my 2 scripts.
Right.
So, you know, you would have a way to enter the business.
Yep.
And a way to move up the ranks. Whereas now they've got these mini rooms. They've got these auteur writers that maybe write everything by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 6 episode orders, so they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, no stability, no predictability of when a second season might start.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, because there could be 3 years between seasons as far as they're concerned.
And they don't pay them until it airs.
Right.
And, you know, they hold on to them. And with the TV networks, you actually knew what kind of ratings they were getting. So you could see how many people were watching to compute a residual.
Yeah.
Streamers don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
So there's no way for them, they can't tell if a show is being streamed?
The streamers know, but nobody else does.
What do you mean the streamers? Like Netflix knows if I'm streaming?
How many people are watching each show?
Oh, yeah.
They've got internal statistics. They've got internal statistics, but because they're not selling advertising revenue. In the TV system, you had the Nielsen ratings, and the advertising revenue was set by the amount of eyeballs were on the show.
Oh, right.
That's why you had the ratings.
Right.
And so that system made things very easy to analyze.
Got it.
What's going on. Now there's no system.
Right. None whatsoever. So in the entertainment industry is not the only industry to be striking. You know, the UPS drivers are probably going to go on strike too.
Yes.
And I remember the last UPS strike, and I'm here to tell you, it was ugly. It was ugly, ugly, ugly. It was in the late 90s, and it was just awful. I was at CNN at the time, so we had a special message board for it, and it was just, wow, it was terrible. So we have, I found a video today, and we have a post coming on it tomorrow about a driver who said, you know, somebody said, you don't really need to make more than $42 an hour. Isn't that plenty? And he said, you know, it's not really about my $42 an hour. They're going to give me a raise even, and I'm going to make more than $42 an hour. The reason for the strike is because the part-time drivers are making $18 an hour, and that's not okay.
And that's what happens. You know, that's why you had people like Meryl Streep, you know, and Jennifer Lawrence write a letter in support of a strike. These A-list actors, they're not striking because of money for themselves. They are trying to help the people down the line. And it's not just about the money. It's about safe working conditions. It's about health insurance.
Right.
You know, pensions. The whole thing. None of which used to exist in that industry. When I was working in that industry as a production assistant, I didn't have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
It was the gig economy before the gig economy came about.
Right.
You know, whereas if you were in the union, you did get those things, which is why I was happy when my daughter qualified for IATSE, because she has those things now. So there's a lot. It's complex. But I have to say, when you were talking about the UPS strike, you know, in Los Angeles, we've got a hotel workers strike too. And LAist declared this hot strike summer.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. That's probably the title of this podcast today.
Yeah, really.
I think it will be, you know.
Yeah.
So we've been at it for 35 minutes. You want to talk about some politics?
Sure. Well, actually, that was politics. What you just talked about.
Politics.
There's a reason why unions like the teachers union and those guys are in solidarity, because especially the teachers union, because it's constantly under attack.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and so these were politics related discussions. But yes,
sure.
There are other politics. Like, do we want to talk about the wingnut NDAA that just got passed in the House?
Let's do it. Let's do
it. What?
The
NDAA?
The National Defense Authorization. Yeah.
They have to authorize what they're going to spend for the Pentagon.
Oh, what did we get?
Oh, let's see. Do we have
a chief of the Marine Corps yet? Do we have a head of the Marine Corps yet?
No, because Tommy Tuberville is, Michael Markman, who was somebody that I was on another podcast with years and years ago, posted something that was so sensible about this. He said, please tell me any other organization where one person can hold up the will of 99 others. I mean, it's not just Tuberville who's an asshole. It's the Senate. What the hell? Why isn't Schumer breaking this? I don't get it.
McConnell,
Yeah.
McConnell, right. Why can't McConnell keep Tuberville in line? The NDAA is usually the most bipartisan bill.
Absolutely.
Passed. Absolutely. This time it passed on party lines, but with all these poison pills that the Senate will not accept.
Well, so let's just stop and back up for a minute. It was not passed with all these poison pills. It was at a dead tie, 216 to 216. So Kevin McCarthy knocked out the delegates, like the U.S. Virgin Islands and, in order to make it pass.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Basically, to make it pass, he disqualified the delegates and then forced it through like 213 to 214 or something like that. Something just insanely stupid. So, and it has an abortion ban in it, and it has a refusal to fund DEI initiatives, and it has a refusal to, for trans care, or, and probably more even than that I don't know about.
I'm looking at the CNN article now.
Yeah. And it's just crazy. And it shouldn't have passed, and it's not going to pass the Senate. I mean, it's not going to pass in that form. So that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting when the Senate sends it back with stripping those amendments out.
Yeah. The reconciliation process is going to be a nightmare. And, we've got another possible government shutdown in the offing.
Oh, I think that we do have a government shutdown in the offing. I think there's no question.
I don't know why they keep forcing government shutdowns. It never works in their favor.
It never ends well for them. I think what they're hoping is they can shut down the government in 2023, and in 2024, nobody will remember. And by shutting it down, they'll be able to slow down Biden's economy.
Right, and then they could say Biden's economy for 2024. They can blame a slow economy on Joe Biden.
Because right. half the U.S. thinks that we were in a recession, but never happened.
But that is the fault of the financial yackers on TV who keep saying that we're due for a recession, blah, 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 and we never get to. I mean, it's so funny. I have these conversations with my stepdad, right? And he reads all these wingnut financial things that just make me cringe. And I tell him this. I tell him every time that he reads them, these are bullshit. Why do you even bother with them?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I don't know. They come, so I read them. So every day he asks me how the market's doing. And every day I tell him. And every day he says,
doing great.
Joe Biden, he's doing a great job of keeping it so that we're not going to crash and burn. And I'm like, yeah, he really is, isn't he? So, but, I mean, I just don't. I don't understand why they think a government shutdown is a good idea, but I can guarantee you that that's what they're going to do. And they're going to, if I'm wrong about this, I'll definitely apologize, but I think it'll be around Christmas just to really piss people off.
Well,
isn't that when the last one was?
Going to be followed by, Black Christmas,
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, the pent-up demand will still be there later. That's what these guys don't realize, right? They're not factoring that in. People, there's time for stuff. And there has been ever since the pandemic. It's like people wanted to travel, they want to go out, they want to buy stuff. They fixed up their houses and now they want to do other stuff because they fixed up their houses when the pandemic kept them home.
Right.
We did. So it's like they want to go do other stuff now. And it's just ridiculous that the Republicans think that they're, shutting the government down will somehow reflect badly on Biden. It won't. It will reflect badly on them. And they're losing seats that they gerrymandered already. In North Carolina, they have to redraw the maps. In New York, they have to redraw the maps. In Louisiana, they have to redraw the maps. And there's at least, I think, 3 other states where they're going to have to redraw maps, which will yield at least one more Democratic seat in those states. So it'll be very,
Hooray.
Yeah. I mean, everybody seems so nervous about 2024. And I'm thinking to myself, gee, I think we can get the House back and keep the Senate.
Yeah, I think so too. And what is like astonishing to me is how poor what terrible politicians Republicans are.
That's because they live in a bubble.
I know. Right. I mean, I understand why, but like, what's amazing is that they're like toddlers throwing tantrums, and what terrible politicians they are, and at the same time, how incredibly effective they are at achieving their goals. But maybe because their only goal is to stop any progress, and it doesn't take very much,
right,
to stop progress. It doesn't take a lot of strategizing or a lot of multi-steps. I mean, maybe it does take a lot of strategy. I mean, it takes a willingness to play the long game, I guess, to stop progress or reverse progress. But, it just seems like all the main, in order for them to achieve their goal, they've had to just basically be obstructionist and be
but they're okay with that. I mean, that's their whole philosophy is to obstruct and to not get anything done because they feel that government shouldn't be something that we have.
Right.
I mean,
that's basically, they don't want any government at all.
Roll everything back to 1850.
Yep, pretty much.
That's what they want. Before the Civil War, before the 14th Amendment.
Right. All that. When white people ruled the world.
White men.
White men, yeah.
Excuse me, white men. Christian white men.
Shudder. I'm sorry.
I mean, do we want to talk about the anti-Semitism and the racism we're seeing, like in our very own, Congress? And
like, is there a week we don't have to talk about it?
I know.
There is no week where we don't have to talk about it. I mean, we're
in the process of debating this. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Karoli.
Yeah.
In the process of debating this bill, we had one congressman stand up and say something about colored people.
He said that he didn't, he was basically saying that it didn't matter for the armed forces to attract, colored people.
Right. They didn't need DEI because the armed forces didn't need to attract colored people. And then when another representative on the Democratic side objected and asked for his words to be taken down, and he said, "Oh, I misspoke," which is always what they do, right? "Oh, I misspoke. Silly me. I didn't mean colored people at all. I meant black people," or whatever, right? Kevin McCarthy's like,
"I believe him. He
misspoke. His word, He's sorry. Honest to God, these people. It's like, I mean, just.
But the point he was making is that we don't need diversity in the military. Right. We don't need DEI in the military.
The very fact that he reverted to using the term
military
is evidence that you need DEI in the military.
Right.
The very
exactly.
fact.
He proved the point. The absolute point. We need DEI in the Congress too, for the same exact reason. I mean, that's the thing. That it. Oh, to go back to the days when we were laughing about series of tubes. I mean, these guys are white supremacists out and proud. They're out and proud about it. They don't care, and they're.
And we talk about Tommy Tuberville.
Oh my God,
Tommy Tuberville.
Tommy Tuberville, the dumbest senator in Senate, and also the biggest bigot. Oh my God, that guy.
Moshe Blackburn gives him a run for his money.
On the dumb side, yeah. I mean, she's also a bigot, but I mean, she doesn't come out and say, she doesn't like wear a sign that says, I, Marsha Blackburn, am a huge bigot. She doesn't do that. Whereas he absolutely did.
Oh my God.
No question.
It's more definition of white nationalism.
Right.
Oh, right. That was Tuberville, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Tuberville.
I mean, it's just, I mean, on one level, I'm kind of glad that they've crawled out from under the rocks and are showing us all their ass. I really am. I mean, it's like, this is kind of to me, the last gasp of the boomer white supremacists, and hopefully we can overcome it. But I mean, there used to be a time in my life where I thought, and it was somewhere, say, in the late 80s through the 90s, I used to think we've overcome a lot of the racism, that we've come a long way. And then I moderated CNN message boards for a few years and realized, no, they're just under the rocks in public.
They're under the rocks. We will always have 30% of the population.
Right.
Just being deplorable.
The problem is those deplorables are enough right now that they can basically make Congress miserable. And that's what they're doing.
And this is why I despair.
Yeah. Well, I count the days until 2024 because I think we're going to, we haven't even talked about Trump. He's the head white supremacist of all of this. So,
he is, but then, like you have there, where was it in, God, I can't remember where it was. Oh,
it's hot here.
A salon owner who put up the sign, I don't know if it was an Instagram post or something where she said that anybody who doesn't refer to themselves as he
Human.
or she, anybody whose pronouns aren't he or she, could find someplace else to get their hair done, like the dog groomer.
Right.
They could go to an animal groomer to get their hair done. So this is, Trump is the head white supremacist, but this, this has trickled down to, the dregs of everyday society. And this is, we don't just have senators and Congress people talking about, colored people, and we don't just have the people, the bigwigs on Twitter talking about Jews better get their act together, and that the reason everybody hates Hollywood is because Jews run it. This is a common thing. This is something that everyday people are facing. This is something that our children can walk around seeing and hearing, in a city and in a town. It's not even like it's limited to one geographic area in this nation.
Oh, I know.
So, I mean, like we have to all. This is part of what feels so overwhelming is that everybody who gives a shit about it needs to be willing to call it out when they see it, because they need to send the message that it's not, that it won't fall on welcome ears or welcome eyes. They may not change the person's mind, but they will at least send the message that they are not, they won't be a party to it. And that's what happened to this woman who, this salon owner. I don't know the ultimate result of what happened to her, but I know she got such unbelievable blowback, and part of me was glad that she, first my heart hurt deeply about it, and it made me just so, whereas my default used to be anger, it just broke my heart, because I thought about kids who might see that, and it made me, and then on the other hand, I felt like, what, let them, like you did, let them show themselves,
right?
So they can
and
experience
I will add
consequences
to that story that she's a one chair salon, so she's just her, and she featured a line of products that she no longer can use because they yanked their line. They said they wanted nothing to do with her.
Good.
So in the end, it was, her hate was basically not rewarded.
Well, she will be rewarded. She'll have the clientele she wants, because the rest of us will not go to her.
Right.
Well, and that's, part of me now wonders, is that so bad?
Exactly.
No.
She's
a hateful person. She only wants hateful people to go there. So now we know. All right. Nobody who's yeah.
Right. I mean, she basically outed herself for who and what she is. She'll have clients probably, but she won't have the products that she wants. And it'll be surprising if she has, any products, because generally most beauty lines don't want to carry to people that are bigots and haters, right? So
and they're gonna have to she's gonna be online at Walmart picking up, Suave shampoo for her customers, basically, is what she's gonna be doing.
Because we all know that that there are very few LGBTQ plus people in hairdressing.
Oh yeah, I mean there are
product,
right, or fashion, I mean any of the beauty industries.
Right, exactly. I mean, and I honestly, I have to say, I guess I'm naive, but I've been actually very taken aback by how the LGBTQ hate has come out this past year.
Oh my God.
I mean, I was under the impression, again, might be my Pollyanna personality or whatever it is, that we'd sort of, or maybe it's just living in California, that we've accepted this, I mean, I had my own battles with people I knew about things like gay marriage or whatever, and we've come to resolve it and understand it and everything. And so what the actual hell is happening here?
Actually, according to national polls, largely we have.
Yeah.
Again, it comes down to 30% of a very vocal population. A very vocal,
not even that big. I mean, Moms for Liberty is like 11
Moms
people.
for Liberty is a bunch of fucking liars. They talk about
Moms
how much
for Liberty are an astroturfed,
you think,
funded, part of
it's a manufactured hate group. It's like this
is what's driving me crazy. They're manufacturing hate for the pure purpose of political power, manufacturing political power. And, I see it on Nextdoor all the time. In fact, I get my posts deleted constantly because I tell people, stop buying in to, this bid for political power that causes you to have to hate somebody to do it.
Yeah. You are a braver woman than I to be able to look at your Nextdoor so often.
Yeah.
I don't even go. I've never even opened a Nextdoor post. I've never been on Nextdoor.
Don't do it.
I'm not gonna.
You'll be happy not to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm already unhappy. I don't need to.
It's already, it's bad enough we've got Elon's Twitter.
I know.
Oh, God. Okay, speaking of that, should we talk for a second about Threads, since that's a thing that happened?
Since we last spoke.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, Threads is the Instagram. So the good thing about Threads, I guess, and Donna pointed this out to me earlier this week, was that she can see her friends again, right? She can, like, because you have Instagram, you can get your Facebook friends or your Instagram
you're
friends
populated already. Just
it's like boom, you have some people to follow. You don't.
And they don't have an algorithm yet, so you're
right. There's not an algorithm. The problem I have. So I did an experiment last week with Threads. Because I have this curated list on Twitter that it's my lifeline. It's how I get stuff.
Yeah.
And so I took all the names out of the list and I started looking for them on all the different platforms. So I looked for them on Mastodon, I looked for them on Blue Sky, and I looked for them on Threads. Well, Threads had 80% of them. Mastodon and Blue Sky had more in the 20s.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard because they're so small still.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a problem because I don't want to. First of all, Threads doesn't have curated lists. The only place besides Twitter where you can curate lists is Mastodon.
And it's not easy on Mastodon.
It's not nearly as easy as it is on Twitter. So for the moment, I just use Twitter to read my lists.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And that's it. And then I use the other.
On the bright side, your Twitter use, or most Twitter use, has gone down significantly.
Oh, yes.
And Elon is
angry.
Is
angry and sad.
And again,
that we don't want to be on a platform that a fascist runs. I'm sorry.
I don't love Mark Zuckerberg
either.
But like how I feel with Bob Iger going after DeSantis. Bob Zuckerberg beating Musk on the social media front is delicious.
Yeah. It is, but Zuckerberg has beat Twitter for years. I mean, Twitter is like little tiny, and Facebook was like that, right? And then it
was the participation of the journalists,
right,
that gave Twitter the cachet that it had,
right. And now they're over in Threads, and that's a problem, a big problem for Elon. Right? He doesn't think so, but it is.
Yeah,
yeah. Once they're all migrated over to Threads, it's going to be. It's going to be it for Elon.
Mm-hmm. But
and then there's all these other fractured social networks, and Threads is supposed to be part of the Fediverse eventually. So we'll see.
We will see.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, we have about minutes left, ladies.
Yeah.
What you doing this weekend?
I'm trying to stay cool mostly. I don't have any plans other than that. I probably have to work all weekend.
The extreme heat finally got to us in Southern California.
Yeah.
It's been here. It's been on the East Coast all for the last month. It's been just unbearably hot.
For people in Texas, I don't know how they're managing.
Oh, in Arizona.
Well, they have a lot of renewable energy that's keeping their air conditionings running, but don't tell them that.
I am getting ready to go to the beach next week.
Oh,
but I don't believe that the waters in the Mid-Atlantic are 97 degrees. So
no,
you still do get the Gulf Stream up there, so it might be warmer than usual.
I mean, warmer than usual is one thing. 97 degrees is, it's shark temperatures. So
yeah, an ocean jacuzzi.
Yeah. So that won't be something I would enjoy.
Yeah.
And I will have house guests for the second weekend in a row. My niece and her husband and their adorable 2-year-old are coming to stay with us. So that's going to be fun.
It will be.
It will be fun.
Yeah.
And so I hope that the rest of you are going to have a nice, hot, fun weekend. That is our show this week. Join us next week on YouTube, MOMocrats.buzzsprout.com, or on your favorite podcast service such as iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. And be sure to check our Facebook page for updates, including that link where you can help out the middle class and not even middle class writers and actors on strike. This is Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli and Aliza Worthington, and we're saying goodbye for the MOMocrats. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
MOMocrats MOMochat is part of the Demcast family of podcasts.